Dear friends, my warmest welcome. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Tapio. I'm founder of Entrepreneurship Exchange, EEX for short. Now, if you read the news, there's so much trouble in global economy and politics, especially for Europe. But my message is that bad news is good news. All this trouble is good. Why? Because it forces us to wake up. We are waking up to the challenge. Europe has been, and this is my view, Europe has been on the road to slow decline and stagnation, to become a museum, as many say. I think now we have a fighting chance, and that's why we're bringing what we think a very positive message. Housekeeping item for those joining right now. We absolutely welcome the dialogue. We have extremely packed 1 hour. So what I would like to ask is that please ask your questions in the chat so that Elisa and Huimin, my colleagues, can answer them there. So chat's the place. Okay. For a tiny startup, for EEX, today we've reached a very important milestone for us, which I think is the first stepping stone of understanding really the leadership challenge. The positive message for Europe is here. You know, everybody parrots that for Europe, European companies, we need more speed, more courage, more collaboration to survive and thrive. I don't know how many times you've heard this. I've heard last few weeks hundreds of tens of times. But all of this trouble, this is all very normal for entrepreneurs. The constant flow of crisis, some existential to the organization, this is perfectly normal life for startup entrepreneurs, where every penny counts, every minute counts, every customer relationship counts, where you need to innovate and keep moving. Always being like that. There's nothing new for the entrepreneurs. And hence, our mission and method. We exist to make all large European companies entrepreneurial again. These points, the speed of decision making, the courage to try and do rather than just plan, and openness for collaboration, these are all what I would call entrepreneurial virtues. Because entrepreneurs proactively shape the world, not just analyze and react. And we can learn these by working directly with entrepreneurs from the real cases of the entrepreneurs. And this is what we do at EEX, Entrepreneurship Exchange. We grow corporate leaders more entrepreneurial. We do this by helping the most ambitious startup entrepreneurs. So this is how it goes. Large corporations give us their most talented leaders, very experienced leaders and successors who we deploy to serve as advisors to a different industry startup. Each advisory board typically has 4 leaders from different large companies, and they meet once a month for a year to work the startup's very practical strategy challenges. So it's leadership development, but it's not based on executive training, mentoring, coaching as such, a real case. Then the storybook. It's a milestone for us. It's a first of its kind in the world. We have recorded and now we are sharing the insights from our 12th EEX journey, the cohort with 8 very different startups and over 30 corporate leaders from 9 countries. So these are the stories of these corporate leaders who have worked with all these very different startups. When you look at these, you have to remember that for a startup, the only job is to learn a scalable business. It's learn or die situation. Startup either learns a business or dies. Hence, a startup is a wonderful place to learn about learning business. However, there's no ready-made recipe for entrepreneurial leadership. Rather, we really need to grow leaders who can do this in their own context, their own way. We need better chefs rather than superficial recipes to apply to every situation. There are lots of great stuff in the storybook, so I will, and you will hear from the others, so I will share only a couple of points here. First of all, looking at the results, you have to remember two things. So this has not been training. There's no gurus lecturing here. This is participant leaders have figured these out themselves. So it's maybe raw, but sure, authentic. Secondly, these are subjective, yes, but look who's talking. These are some of the very best leaders of their own organizations, extremely capable people. They've done tons of trainings. Many are responsible for developing, growing other leaders. Many of our participants work the most challenging initiatives of their own organizations. They know what they're talking about. Couple of highlights. So this works because startups have trouble. The startup cannot stay where it is because startup, by definition, is not yet anywhere. Startup needs to push on and learn. So in startups, we can't avoid decisions, even when we don't know everything and we can't plan everything. So faster decisions. Also, we can't pull back. We need to do those experiments to get the results if we're working something new. And there's a bunch of stuff, bunch of insights around all of these points in the book. So you can find them there. But this is the highlight. So ladies and gentlemen, these entrepreneurs and corporate leaders, in many ways, to represent the sharp end of our economy. They are the key successors, growing their businesses or going for top jobs in some of them are our most important companies. And we know now that they can grow more entrepreneurial and they can do it. Moreover, which is interesting, is through the work we here done, we now know that we can find a new leadership culture, maybe a paradigm for each organization, but also for the whole Europe. So with the rude awakening, with the older trouble, complexity, to survive and thrive, we need a new leadership paradigm, which is more entrepreneurial, more speed and courage, and collaboration. And on this note, we have had such remarkable people helping us all these years from the very start. My very sincere thank you. Today, I want to thank all of our entrepreneurs, first and foremost, who have opened their doors and troubles and work with these corporate leaders. And I want to thank the corporate leaders, who many are the busiest people of their own organizations, who have had the curiosity and courage to step out of their corporate boxes and worked hard with the entrepreneurs. My hat off to you. Finally, about the storybook, I want to thank our partners, especially Nicole Hörl and her team, Dave Snowden and Beth Smith at Cynefin, for your work with SenseMaker. And here, keeping with the theme of collaboration, I want to introduce you Nicole Hörl, who is responsible for developing all the key leaders at Deutsche Telekom. It's a global organization with over 200,000 employees, with the aim to be the world's leading telco. Welcome, Nicole.
Tapio, thank you very much, and good afternoon, and welcome to all of you, whether all of us entrepreneurs in one way or another, but partners and alumni and those that are currently maybe even taking part in the program. It's actually great to be here because the EEX Storybook isn't just a book. It really is a milestone in a shared journey that we've embarked on as well as Deutsche Telekom, and we're really pleased to be working with Tapio and the EEX community, and we're already on our third cohort. So what I would like to do is share a little bit about Deutsche Telekom, why we signed up to be part of EEX, and what does it mean for us? And what I truly believe as well is important for us to think about as, for us, at least as a large corporate, one of the DAX corporates in Germany, and the role that we also play as a DAX German corporate in Europe and wider. So I'm going to share my slides with you. I've only brought a few, but I hope you can see them, and a few thumbs up would be helpful, because then I know that you can see my screen.
You're good to go.
So good to go. Excellent. So as Tapio said, my name is Nicole Hörl, and I head up our leadership excellence at Deutsche Telekom. So myself with my team, we are responsible for the executive education of our population of executives, N-1 layer in the organization, and our board. So we have, give or take, 1,200 executives, and then a very special community, which I'll share about, called the T3s, and our 8 board members. But before I jump into that, I do want to share with you our strategy, our Deutsche Telekom strategy, which can be put very simply onto one slide. And I'm not sharing any company secrets with you, because this was actually shared as part of our Capital Markets Day last year. And it shows our ambition as Deutsche Telekom in the areas that we focus in. Of course, we have a flywheel. And why do we have a flywheel? Because we want to keep that flywheel spinning. And the more it spins and the faster it spins, the more and better we are achieving our mission, our purpose to become the leading digital telco and that's the strategy. You see 4 elements in the center of this flywheel, and you have obviously investments that need to go in. We need to take care really, really well of our customers. If our customers are happy, and together with the efficiencies that we put in place, then the financials come in, and then with those financials we can reinvest. However, 2 key elements that have clearly been added into our strategy is what you see right, the circle right around the flywheel. The first one, which is global scale, and the one inside the circle, which says data and AI. And for us, as Deutsche Telekom, we are building a data-informed digital-first company, really that to deliver measurable impact through our data and AI. So full AI integration across the whole value chain to boost efficiencies, automation, productivity. And in order to do that, we need innovation. We need people that are innovative, curious, and that can think differently about how we go about this new challenge, which I believe most of us, all organizations, are facing at the moment. Hence, TIP, that's why EEX came into play as well for us. And then the outer part, as you can see here, around the global scale, we have a unique opportunity as Deutsche Telekom really to leverage our global footprint that we have, with one strategy, one global brand, with real common products and platforms, and a combined operation. So some, as you may know, we are headquartered in Germany, but we expand most of Eastern Europe. We have a very, very strong presence in the US and in other parts of Asia. So really how, and across the world with T-Systems actually, but how do we create this unique global footprint? So we really find ourselves in a very fast-paced transition in how we do this and how we deliver this strategy that we have. But I'll come to the core of it, because right in the middle of it, you have the telecom T, the magenta T. And that is for us our differentiator. So we have a superior brand when it comes to the role we play in the telco business. We have a unique portfolio, but we also have what we believe to be the best team in the industry, with very strong values and our very strong leading ambition when it comes to ESG. If we look at our people strategy, the ambition that we have is to really continue to build on that best team. That is at the heart of our people strategy, and to then be able to drive on our leading digital telco strategy. And that is where we come in as the leadership team. So we need to make sure that our leaders are prepared and have the right future capabilities, the right future mindset and behaviors in order to be able to deliver on this very ambitious strategy. And this is, again, our very simple, because we like to keep things as simple as possible in this very complex world that we're in, our very simple framework in how we do that. There's a lot more to it in the background, but for us today, this is what we focus on. We need to build a very strong magenta DNA, setting out the global standards across our population of executive leadership that we have. And we do that by focusing on our strategy. So how do we make sure that all of our leaders at Deutsche Telekom understand the strategy and the role that they play in that? So again, how do they invest themselves when it comes to creating new products, new services for our customers? How innovative, how creative, how curious are we in creating new revenue streams, new portfolios, etc.? So it's our responsibility to make sure that we prepare them for that. So that is the focus on the pillar of strategy. The second pillar that we focus on as leadership development is on our values. How do we live our values? How do they show up every day in the way that we treat each other, that we perform with each other? How do we manage our failure culture? Or how open are we to failures and mistakes? How open are we to walking the talk, to giving feedback and being honest about putting the fish on the table when it's needed and having those tough discussions? So that is something that we work very, very closely with our leaders. And again, for this, you need trust, you need psychological safety, and you need to really think differently and outside of the box. Hence, again, our EEX experience. More on that in a moment. And then the third focused pillar that we have is around our competency framework. So we have, let's say, updated, evolutionized our competency framework, and might be a little bit old school when you think of a competency model, but for us, it's very clearly what are those future capabilities that our leaders need in order to be able to navigate into the future and deliver on our strategy. And those are the ones that we focus on in our team. So we have 12 very clear competencies as leading change, driving results, but also the whole part around technical mindset, open mindset, creative mindset, and digital expertise. And we do this in different ways at Deutsche Telekom. So we have dedicated journeys that we provide for each of our executive population. And in this pyramid here, you will see the telecom transformation team, and I will step into that in a moment and share more about our telecom transformation team. But we have dedicated journeys, I was just saying, for each of the different cohorts and groups. And we also have we're stepping more and more into very hyper-personalized learning journeys for our leaders and our executives. What does that mean? Really using all the data and all the information that we have about our leaders to create unique individual learning paths for them that is suitable to what they need and when they need it on the job. So getting much closer to them by utilizing AI, utilizing the data that we have. So through AI learning avatars, through very created content specifically for the individuals, moving much more into this space. But what I would like to get and share with you, something that always creates a very positive buzz, and we also get a lot of questions from other DAX and other large international companies around our telecom transformation team. And I want to share a little bit about them because these are the guys that we have actually put on this wonderful journey of EEX. And we've selected a very unique group of our T3 community to participate in EEX. And I believe we have some of them here with us as well today. So I'll go into the telecom transformation team. And There's quite a bit on that slide, but I'll share a little bit of context. When our CEO, Tim Höttges, became CEO back in 2014, he wanted to have a community of leaders close to him, from across the organization, from different parts and different segments, as a sounding board, so that he could quickly hear what is happening in the organization, and that there was a flow of communication much faster right into the organization. And with this group, we created the telecom transformation team. So we've got around 180 of them in strategic roles across all of the organization that are part of this community. Obviously has been running now, going into its 11th year. And this is a community that is hosted directly by our CEO, and has the support of the board. And what is wonderful about this community that we've put together, and it gets reviewed on a regular basis. So every 3 years, we do a spot check and make sure that we have the right people in there. But these are really key strategic players across all of the organization, and they drive our leading digital telco strategy. So they are really responsible for driving and bringing to life the strategy in their businesses. But we also see them, more importantly, as ambassadors of our culture across the organization. So when we obviously appointed some of these T3s to EEX, and the wonderful experience that they are gaining there with an entrepreneurial mindset and really thinking outside of the box, delivering faster, what we call a little bit uncorporate. I'm sure that if you are here from a larger corporate organization, you know that sometimes we can become big and heavy and slow. And we tend to love our processes and procedures, which of course are really important and we need them. But how can we move at pace, and how can we deliver our performance and our results sometimes in a more uncorporate fashion, especially if we want to keep up with other players in the telco and digital and tech businesses. So that's why it was super important to get some of these T3s involved in the EEX community, so that they can drive that culture and that mindset back into the organization. So really seeing them as the ambassadors in helping and bringing this back into the business. But the T3, also this group of people also is great for us, because it is the pipeline for our next generation of top leaders all the way into the board. So we have recently made certain new appointments in the board, and they have come from the T3 community as well. So it really is not just a nice to have group of people that get together and debate strategy and drive culture, but they are actually the succession pipeline for Deutsche Telekom. What we do for them is that we create state-of-the-art development opportunities for them, and EEX being one of them. The community asked us. So we do a lot of programs, and we do them some really unique immersives where they participate with one another, and we do it in a closed shop in Deutsche Telekom. And the community said to us, we would love to do something that gets us out there, that gets us talking to other organizations, that we can learn from maybe other companies and what they're doing, and bring in best practices into our world. And really that is what EEX can also deliver and has delivered for us. The opportunity for our T3s not only to be involved with a startup and bring in different mentality and mindsets into what we do, they also then get to work in an advisory board as well with other peers of other organizations similar to ours. So actually, it's a win-win-win solution for us in bringing EEX as a partner and as a program in for us into Deutsche Telekom. So really very cool in adding to our portfolio of state-of-the-art development. The community, of course, also creates a real spirit of unity in the organization. And we obviously need to make sure that we have the right people in that community to drive that. So if I share a little bit further with you, these it used to be yearly, every 2 years now, we actually bring this cohort of 180 people, plus the N-1 and the board, of course, are there as well. We bring them together into a summit. And we have various different topics in every single summit that we have, and we touch upon what are the hot topics that are driving us at the moment. So you can see that last year, actually, our summit was all about our values, especially in the very difficult geopolitical times that started last year, not just last year, but were peaking last year as well. We felt it was really important to talk about our values. Where do we stand as Deutsche Telekom? Are we really walking the talk? And this is an example of where we did the last summit in Krakow. And we actually took all of the T3 community to Auschwitz, and we spent a day there. And it was a very deep, meaningful experience for all. And that is what we want to do. We want to create experience where we really can shift the mindset and the thinking of the T3s to be able to create a change for good in the organization. Why EEX? And I think we are really we are delighted to have partnered. I'm delighted to have found Tapio and Elise and the team, and that we connected through our own startup community at Deutsche Telekom, and we've come now together because we truly believe that if you want to experience entrepreneurship, if you really want to get your hands dirty and live through the sweat and tears of what it means, you can't do that in the classroom. You really need to get the real world action, and EEX delivers that. It really exposes, and we've had many conversations as well then with the T3s of that sometimes they felt the frustration of can they really help these startups and can they contribute, and it's a very different environment of working from a corporate into the smaller startup. And I think that they also felt a very significant journey for themselves on their own growth journey. But then it's also the question, how do we bring that back into DT? So really making sure that we gather the alumni, that we do further integration sessions at Deutsche Telekom so that we can bring the learnings that they are having back into the organization with us. So we are really excited to have already a group of alumni. We have a new class starting. And we really look forward to what the rest of the EEX journey brings for us. And here is Jitka, one of our participants, who I actually believe is on the call with us today, says, sooner than later, you start to feel the pain of your own habits, corporate routines, and your own success from the past. And stepping into the EEX world really makes a shift in seeing things in a different light. Now getting into it really from a different mindset and a different perspective, which is really important, and now how we can then bring that back for us at Deutsche Telekom. So on this note, I'd just really like to say thank you to Tapio, to the team, and to all of you for your interest in joining this session today, because I truly believe, for me personally, it is our responsibility. I see it as a responsibility in my role to further develop, support, and grow our leadership, because they're the ones making an impact together with all of our teams in the organizations, in the environments, in the ecosystems that we operate in. And as Europe, I think we have a lot to do. We have a lot of work ahead of us if we want to continue to be relevant players in the world map. And if I can support with my little grain of making our leaders more entrepreneurial and more passionate about innovation and thinking about things in different ways and different angles to improve what we do, then that's what we need to do. So on that note, thank you very much, Tapio and team, for having me, and thank you for your time. If you have any questions, happy to answer them through the chat. So or drop us an email, and we're happy to share more. Thank you.
Vielen Dank. Many thanks, Nicole. I mean, this is heartening. Absolutely brilliant to have you guys on board, and thanks also here for all of your feedback and guidance for making the journey better. That's all important. This is kind of partners we want. Now, it's a complex world out there, right? Now, entrepreneurs, sometimes the good entrepreneurs act instinctively amid all the complexity. We get stuff done. But now we actually have somebody who also has the science to support us. Cynefin is absolutely the best partner in the world to try to understand complexity and decision-making in complexity. We have used their software, SenseMaker, to collect the insights here. And now we have with us today Beth Smith, who promised to share more about their approach. Beth, floor is yours.
Wonderful, thank you. And I think, you know, to reflect on what we've heard already, that it's impossible to build a recipe, a set of procedures, the things you need to do in order to be a future-proof leader. You know, to create a list like that is a complete fallacy. The only way that we can deal with it is to develop the capacity and capability within our people, and for those people to share their knowledge and experience with others, especially kind of in the hyper digital age, whereby, you know, the types of conversations you'd be having around the coffee machine whilst you wait are no longer happening as organically as they were. How are we learning and sharing from each other's experiences out in the field? So our approach alongside EEX was to implement a journaling process where people journaled their insights, experiences, changes of mind along the process. And once people shared those insights, they were asked to then reflect on them and kind of rate and measure or self-analyze, you know, the things that they felt were coming into play in those experiences. And what we've ultimately done is to then compile that all into one place, so it becomes a collective learning journey. But we're also able to compile all of the metrics in one place, so we can start to see the patterns of influence and change and impact that the actual process is having on people, not just at the individual level, but at the collective level as well. And so for us, it's really important, especially, as I say, in kind of uncertain times, that we need to be drawing on each other's experiences, because there is no universal here. Dealing with complexity is a team sport. We have to be able to connect with and resonate other people's experiences as well as our own. So the whole process has been centered around how do we get individuals to reflect on their own personal experience, but then a recognition of how that fits in and contributes to a larger social movement ultimately. So when you have a look through the books, you'll see they're chapterized at different points of the journey, and you can then see some of the patterns in terms of how perspective and priorities shift throughout the process across the collective as well. And we've also then done some work to help distill some of the key insights, actions, and takeaways, so that becomes, you know, a really good kind of grab bag of, you know, potential ideas, heuristics, habits that you might want to think about when coming across complex issues of your own. So yeah, I'm just really excited to have this out there for the world to see. So thank you all for those who are involved in actually contributing their knowledge, and of course the EEX team for being the wonderful partner that they've been in terms of bringing it all together. And of course Nia, who is our graphic designer, who's put it together, and I don't think she's actually here. I think we all owe her a very big coffee.
Indeed, thank you, Beth, so much. I mean, the storybook looks fantastic. You will all get a virtual copy of it very soon. Hey, I have a privilege to introduce you to people who are in the call, who were joining the EEX Journey program, the TELS program. We collected the wisdom. So we selected one startup for the program, which is an Austrian startup called S17. Very interesting case. And Stefan, entrepreneur, there is here with us today. Stefan was working throughout the journey, the group of advisors, 4 of them. And today we have Ilkka Lipasti from ABB. So you guys were working together the whole year sharing ups and downs, and you promised to share some highlights for us today. Very good to have you here. Let's start. I want to first ask you both two questions. What's your mission right now at work? Where is your focus? And how would you describe the collaboration during EEX Journey? Stefan, you can start.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. So S17 is driving digital trust for global material supply chains and trade. So you might observe that these are quite traditional industries that are currently going a massive transformation, where suddenly the source of value are topics like, verifiable origin, sustainability. And what we do is we use digital tools and the digital passport to basically drive transparency and traceability. And this marks, first of all, also, I would say, a systemic change, because by giving materials a digital identity, in the future, they can enter into, a new kind of arrangements between buyer and the seller, but also the industry and the society, and today and the future. Yeah? And that's actually railing the infrastructure for what we call a circular economy.
Indeed. And you were working with Ilkka and the other advisors during the program. So what's the one word you would use to describe the collaboration?
Well, I would say it's one sentence that was repeated in a lot of our meetings. And it was a question, in fact. So we always asked ourselves the question, what is holding us back? Yeah. And I think that's a very good sentence, and it goes back to what Tapio said at the beginning. Yeah? No, we need to come up with a different approach in Europe on how to tackle the challenges that are ahead of us. We need to take more brave decisions. And I think the way to ask what is holding you back, that puts you already in a different perspective.
I think there is also addition. What's holding us back if we cannot say money?
Yes.
And that's the tricky one, especially for big companies. Thank you, Stefan. Okay, Ilkka, please share your mission and your first highlights from your journey.
Well, my mission has been for the past 6.5 years to help in my small role to turn ABB into more entrepreneurial, agile, and innovative company. That's kind of been my mission for the 6.5 years. And that's why the EEX program has been playing a wonderful part in that. And actually, I'm here today in Helsinki, where we have a global R&D meeting, and we have been discussing exactly the same topics. And we have been talking about entrepreneurs, how to work with startups, and how to become even more experimental, and even more customer innovation and all that stuff. So right to the point. And regarding the collaboration, first of all, I must admit that one of the things that has been best for me has been the feeling of being envious about, Stefan and especially Stefan and his team, about, how passionate they are about what they are doing, and how ready they are to pivot. When they, they started with one idea of a customer, and then they, learn and change the journey a little bit. New opportunities, and this is the kind of attitude and agility our type of companies desperately need even more. So that has been really an interesting experience to observe these guys, and especially Stefan, who's I wish I was at least 50% as committed and passionate as you are. Even I think I am passionate, but you are a remarkable role model to me, that how we need some people like you even more in companies like ABB.
That's wonderful, and you have all the potential there. It's just how do you tap into the entrepreneurial side of yourself. Very good. Hey, Stefan, from startup point of view, what has been the biggest value working with these advisors?
Yeah, I had to start it. It was an unbelievable selection of, first of all, amazing personalities, and of course, all of them bringing also a long-term and very professional background on the table. Different people with very different perspectives, and that's exactly what you need as a startup. Because as a startup, you naturally start in a small group, and you're very soon you're in a think, decide, execute mode, whereas the shortfall is always on the think. Yeah, and what advisor, not only the advisory group, but also that we had, our regular meetings that really forced us to take sometimes a step back, to think, to reflect, to look at things at different perspectives, and simply make better decisions. Yeah. And what I personally took away, and that was, I think, in our case, probably the most valuable outcome of our joint journey together, is that we also really reflected on our team composition. So not going into the details, but we really changed the roles. We brought another person also into the management teams, and that needs not only that you realize this intellectually, but you also need to make people feel that this is the right way. And I think at the end of the day, this is exactly what leadership is about. Yeah? To get the most out of the skills that you have in a team. So in order to then really turn resources into results. Yeah? And I believe every startup is in exactly in this kind of situation. And if you have a chance to exchange with people at that level who are also involved at that level. Yeah, so there's a big difference if you have maybe an hour or two with a consultant or a friend, but I can really say that Katja, Ika, Joost Pecker, they are still part of our company. Yeah? So we had the roller coaster for 1 year together, and this really formed a strong team.
Okay, so very quick note. What would be your best tip, Stefan, for next entrepreneurs in the program?
Let me put it like this. You need some time to get together as a group. Yeah, it took us a while. I think it took us 1 or 2 meetings, and then it became really interesting. So if you are able to shorten that somehow, and that's very much on the startup side, in my opinion, because you really need to open up. Yeah, you need to understand that this is not a pitch. As a startup, you always want to shine. You pitch in front of customers or you pitch in front of investors.
Yes.
In the advisory board,
don't pitch.
You don't need to shine. Bring the topics on the table. The sooner, the better. The more time you have to tackle them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, it's a big thing. Likewise, Ilkka, what would be your one tip to a corporate leader, a key successor perhaps, who wants to join the program?
2 things. First, come with an open mind.
Yes.
And second, spend first meeting and maybe even second meeting learning and listening.
Yes.
And that was maybe a little bit challenge for me in the first meeting, but to be honest.
Yes. So it takes time to learn a new business, but that's the part of and then getting going. I mean, this is part of the story. Wonderful to have you both. So many thanks to both of you to make the time to be here today. I appreciate your work. Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Very good. What we have done is that I'm trying to, yes, there we go. We have 2 other advisors on this call. And what I would like to do is that we ask them if they could share a very quick comment from their part. Jitka, are you somewhere there?
Yes, I'm here. Could you see me? Could you hear me?
Yes, I will spotlight you. There
I'm
you go.
bigger.
I got
Okay,
that,
okay.
Tapio.
It's good to see you.
Perfect. So, yeah, can I start? Okay, perfect. So, colleagues, first of all, good afternoon from my side as well. So, what to share? I think first I would like to share that when I was writing my reflection, and I really strongly believe that writing reflection helps a lot, I had to smile. Smiling, why? Not because I was so desperate because of, writing something after a longer time, but because it was like, oh my God, I thought that I am somehow Jitka, like transformational manager. I consider myself as being somebody who is super flexible, transformational, doing a lot of changes in business, in HR, wherever you want. And then, oops, when I'm just going through all my reflections, I'm so corporate. What I'm seeing here, there are such many corporate behaviors, and this you don't want to see really. And if it is written, it starts to be really hardcore. And this is what I would like to emphasize is that just take your time, do a lot of reflections, because then you can see the truth. If it is objective, subjective, I don't know, but at least you can see something what is very individual. And thanks for Nicole sharing my sentence, because it was as well part of my reflection. But really, I was feeling that some things I learned in corporate, and I'm really long time in corporate, and even being super successful in the corporate, it was not at all really helpful within my journey, because it's not training, it's really journey. And the things like, I want to deliver, I want to fulfill my target. No way, because these are not my target. I need to help, to support, to consult, but it's not my responsibility. So I had to leave to just go leave your responsibility. Politeness, I'm super polite in corporate, but this does not help the colleagues to be successful in startup. You need to be brutally honest, because otherwise you are just harming them midterm. Maybe short term you really are happy, but midterm it's gone basically. Or basically decision making. It's not my team. These are not like my people, and I'm not here to decide. And I think these type of things gave me completely different perspective on the way, and super useful as well for the corporate world, because it's a completely different leadership. And exactly this leadership I was explaining, like coaching, mentoring, supporting, enabling, empowering, it helps you significantly. So many thanks for this journey. A lot of learnings, even painful, and the pain was 1 year. It was not like one training, one day. And this is what then you can feel and you can live. So it helped me a lot.
Thank you so much, Jitka. See you around Germany, Czech, somewhere. Absolutely. Helsinki, hope. Another person we asked a comment from is Mark. Hello, good morning. Are you in New Jersey?
Yes, indeed, it's morning here. So calling in from the US, and thanks a lot for the opportunity here. So first of all, I wanted to thank our startup here, Luis from Tether, and my two fellow AB advisory board members, Axel from Deutsche Bahn and Matt Redford from KONE. So I want to start off with a little factoid here, and it's just looking at the US, 98% of the businesses are basically employing half the workforce and make up almost half of the GDP. These are the small businesses, right? And all of them have an owner, and all of them had a startup, and they tried, they failed, they tried, and they're fighting every day and being quite successful, right? And what that also means is that less than 2% of the businesses, at least here in the US, employ about half the people and are generating about half the work of half of the GDP. So what we're talking about here is bringing these two together. And I think it's a wonderful idea. And my journey started off with two startups. One of them failed, one of them survived and was purchased then and is still existing today. And that was a really magical time. So I really identify with that period of my career, feeling alive and really dreaming of what it could be. Now I've been over 20 years at BASF, which was one of my customers originally. And you know, after 20 years, we're a big, you know, big company, but we simply weren't, you know, meeting expectations in the business we were in. And times were changing, our markets were changing, and we just weren't fast enough, right? We weren't able to get ahead of this. And so we knew we needed to change, and we believed it was a leadership topic, right? It required more of an entrepreneurial leadership. So that was how we came to EEX, looking for an opportunity to build this muscle, right, in a company that's, you know, very established, very big, but not necessarily always successful. So what EEX brings then is the power and experience of the big company together with that spirit and creativity of the entrepreneur. Not in a textbook or in a lecture, but, you know, as we say, the school of hard knocks here, right in front and center in the market. And during our journey, we had a lot of fighting. I heard it from the others here too, right? We thought about, you know, how we're going to work together, the value proposition. We restructured both the startup and the AB along the way. We had to take some mental health breaks, right? Taking care of ourselves. And also we're challenged by authorities even, and finally, you know, achieving some things that we believed are sustainable revenue. So quite a journey we went on in about 1.5 years now. So we gave him, the entrepreneur, our experience, our structured thinking, new ideas, a different perspective. And he gave me, and I speak for myself now, a reminder of what it feels like to be in that entrepreneurial hot seat, right? Lean and hungry, how to get up when you're knocked down, how to wear all the different hats, and how to, importantly, to adapt, to focus, right, and be fearless, because this is ultimately what it takes and what we need as a big company trying to get ahead. So how do you bring this entrepreneurial spirit, or half of the GDP, into the large corporations, the other half, right? I believe it's about how we lead, right? It's where we put our focus is where our teams put their focus, how we communicate and motivate, and how we react to success, and even more importantly, failure. This is directly reflected back to us, right? In how our teams feel, how empowered they are, and how they drive things forward with what kind of energy, what kind of speed and ownership. So I would say that right now we are listening to these voices of change. We do have a new culture that we are creating that is different from BASF, because we're in a carved out, wholly owned, but independent business. We feel it now that this is driving our success, and we're on our way. And the reason I'm here right now is because EEX, in my view, can rightfully say that they're an important part of it, right? So they are bringing this entrepreneurial spirit back into our business through this type of hands-on experience. So I will flip it back to you guys, but thanks a lot again for the great opportunity here, and we're still living, right, as our entrepreneur and as our AB. So it's really been quite an experience, and we're happy to drive this forward.
Mark, so many thanks from Helsinki.
Thank you.
Looking forward to meet you too, this side or that side of Atlantic. We're coming
Absolutely.
to the close of the event. First, I want to say that thanks for all of you. Thanks all of you to join as the speakers, and thanks for everybody attending. This event has been recorded, so you can share the key points with your colleagues. We're bringing a positive message. It's possible to build entrepreneurial large companies. Think about who should hear this message in your organization or other organizations. Elisa just posted the link of the storybook in the chat, so you can get it from there or from us. Remember, the trouble is not necessarily bad. It's actually good if we do wake up, stand up, and start moving again. So we should stand up and start seizing the opportunities, which are plenty, like the entrepreneurs do. So entrepreneurship, to me, is all about making the better future, taking responsibility and ownership of it, the better future. So please join the movement. Thanks a lot, everybody. Looking forward to meeting you, teams or live, in following events.